Good day, future teachers. Welcome to Edo 259, the English major subject, Rationalization. So I am Monica Apepe, and for today's video, we will be having 6 major subjects in English, which are the English 153 Teaching and Assessment of Literature Studies, COM 002 or the Campus Journalism, English 150 Principles and Theories of Language Acquisition, English 028 Structure of English, English 154 Teaching and Assessment of the Macro Skills, and English 18 Introduction to Linguistics. So let us start with English 153 Teaching and Assessment of Literature Studies, items 1 to 3. First question, which is not an aim in literature teaching? So the options are letter A, to be exposed to the values inherent in literature. Letter B, to enhance creativity and resourcefulness. Letter C, to develop thinking skills, including specific reading and reasoning skills. And letter D, to discover that literature is an enjoyable means of gaining vicarious experiences. For the correct answer in this item is letter B, to enhance creativity and resourcefulness. For our rationalization, let us have all of the following are the aims in literature teaching except the second option, which is to enhance creativity and resourcefulness. So all of the answers are correct, and it is to be exposed to the values inherent in literature, to develop thinking skills, including specific reading and reasoning skills, and to discover that literature is an enjoyable means of gaining various experiences. So, teaching literature is not only concerned with teaching students how to perform literary interpretation and analysis, but also helps students develop sensitivity, self-awareness, and greater understanding of the world and other people. So, moving on with item number 2. Why do we use literature in ESL or EFL classes, or the English as second language or English as foreign language classes? The options are letter A, because literature demonstrates for the learners the importance of form in achieving specific communicative goals. Letter B, using literature as content in language 2 or second language classrooms provides an ideal basis for integrating the 4 skills. Letter C, in an era when English is used in a great variety of cross-cultural encounters, literary texts are valuable in raising students, teachers cross-cultural awareness. And letter D, all of the following, all of the above. So the correct answer for this item is letter D, all of the above. Okay, for our rationalization, let us have all of the choices given are some of the reasons as to why we do use literature in English as second language or English as foreign language in classes. So there are various advantages for the use of literature in EFL or ESL classes that are proposed by scholars, which are an authentic source, improving motivation, cultural or intercultural awareness and globalization development, an intensive and extensive reading practice source, social linguistic and pragmatic knowledge development, grammar and vocabulary knowledge promotion, language skills reinforcement, emotional intelligence or the EQ improvement, and fostering critical thinking. So the main role of literature in ESL or EFL in classroom are 1. Teaching literature contributes to the ESL, EFL students' intellectual, social, and moral development. Number 2. Reading a genuine, imaginative work assists the students' internalization of the linguistic points already learned. So that is for our item number 2. Moving on with item number 3. Number 3, which is not a performing art in literature teaching. The options are letter A, choral reading, letter B, debate, letter C, play, and letter D, choral singing. Correct answer is letter B, debate. It is not included in performing arts in literature teaching. Okay, for our rationalization, the performing arts are arts such as music, dance, and drama, which are performed for an audience. It is intended for audience. On the other hand, a debate or art debate is where debating societies come into play. So they are an excellent way to develop public speaking skills, to learn to engage with opposing views, and to build an argumentative strategy. So debate is part of the critical thinking process. Debate helps to sharpen our cognitive skills. Debate allows us to structure our arguments so that we can provide cogent answers to the opposing view. A full rebuttal in a debate can only come in one able to understand the opposing view and deliver a counter-argument that is convincing and defeats the opponent's argument. So choral reading, play, and choral singing are part of performing arts but not debate. Okay, so moving on, let's have our second subject, the COM002 Campus Journalism, item number 1. And let us start with the question, what is news? So the options are letter A, an article in a newspaper. Letter B, any topic that is relevant, timely, and of interest to your target audience. Letter C, any topic that is sensational, involves gossip, and allows use of your opinion. And letter D, just anything that you want. The correct answer for this item is letter B, any topic that is relevant, timely, and of interest to your target audience. For our rationalization, news is any topic that is relevant, timely, and of interest to your target audience. So in broader terms, news is defined as a report of a current event. It is an information about something that just happened or will happen soon. News is a report about recent happenings in a newspaper, television, radio, or internet. News is something that is not known earlier. From all these, we can safely define news as a development that has happened in the past 24 hours, which was not known outside, and which is of wide interest of the people, and that which generates curiosity among the listeners. So that is news. Next item. Number 2. What is inverted pyramid style? So the options are letter A style of writing that emphasizes the human interest. Letter B, an article based on the writer's opinion concerning an important issue. Letter C, top-heavy news story because the beginning contains the most important information. And letter D, bottom-heavy news story because the conclusion contains the most important information. The correct answer is letter C, top-heavy news story because the beginning contains the most important information. For our rationalization, inverted pyramid style is a top-heavy news story because the beginning contains the most important information. So, in journalism, the inverted pyramid refers to a story structure where the most important information, or what might be even considered the conclusion, is presented first. The who, what, when, where, and why appear at the start of the story, followed by supporting details and background information. So the name inverted pyramid comes from picturing the broad facts at the top of a story, followed by smaller and smaller details like a triangle balanced in one corner. So that is inverted pyramid style in journalism. Moving on, number 3, what is a feature story? The options are letter A, a news within a human interest angle. Letter B, an article based on the writer's opinion concerning an important issue. Letter C, fluff material such as horoscopes and crossword puzzles. Letter D, top-heavy news story because the beginning contains the most important information. So the correct answer for this item is letter A, a story with a human interest angle. For our rationalization, a feature story is a news with a human interest angle. Take note of that. A feature story is a factual story that is not hard news, but is instead a more personal report about a person, event, or aspect of a major event. Feature stories are often just called features. One common type of feature story is a human interest story. A feature is a longer piece of writing than a news story. Features comes in many different types and are widely used in magazines, newspapers, and online. A feature will often cover an issue in a greater depth than a news story would do. Or it might look at an ongoing story from a different angle. So that is a feature story. Next subject, we have English 150 are the principles and theories of language acquisition. Item number 1. In what area or areas will individual differences affect L2 acquisition? The options are letter A, rate of development, letter B, age factor, letter C, ultimate level of achievement, and letter D, both A and C options. The correct answer for this item is letter D, both A and C options. For our rationalization, the rate of development and ultimate level of achievement are the areas that will individual differences that affects L2 acquisition. So the rate of development varies person to person. So the rate of development is not uniform. So individuals differ in the rate of growth and development. So boys and girls have different development rates. Okay, so ultimate attainment in second language acquisition referred by most authors to ultimate attainment of an L2 or second language. They refer to the ability to attain native-like proficiency in an L2 or the second language. However, in age factor on the views of the critical period hypothesis range from Lenneberg's statement that children succeed in completely learning their native language with no conscious effort and mere exposure, while adults failed by incompletely learning second language with instruction. So, negative evidence and motivation. He claims that learners gain native-like ability from exposure to the idea that young learners outperform older ones either in eventual outcome or in learning ability. So that is rate of development and ultimate level of achievement, also with age factor in learning L2 or the second language. Okay, moving on with number 2. Which of the following refers to the way people perceive, conceptualize, organize, and recall information? The options are letter A, cognitive style, letter B, affective style, letter C, psychomotor style, and letter D, metacognitive style. So the correct answer for this item is letter A, cognitive style. For our rationalization, cognitive style refers to the way people perceive, conceptualize, organize, and recall information. So there are 3 very important cognitive styles, which are the leveling to sharpening, field dependence to field independence, and reflectivity to impulsivity. So cognitive styles are distinct from individual intelligence, but they may affect personality development and how individuals learn and apply information. So learning varies from person to person. Okay, number 3. Which of the following is not correct about field-dependent learners? The options are letter A, they operate holistically. Letter B, they like to work with others. Letter C, they are analytic and prefer to work alone. And letter D, they love to reflect with nature as they learn a language. The correct answer for this item is letter D, they live to reflect with nature as they learn a language. For our rationalization, field-dependent learners is that you tend to rely on structure and on receiving direction. Field-dependent learners likes to operate holistically. They like to work with others. They are analytic and prefer to work alone. So the last choice, which is they love to reflect with nature as they learn a language, is under reflective cognitive style of learners, not in field-dependent learners. Okay, so next we have English 28, the structure of English. Item number 1. All of us are foreign language teachers. What is the function of the underlined word in the sentence? So our underlined word in the sentence is the foreign language. The options are letter A, noun, letter B, verb, letter C, adjective, and letter D, adverb. Correct answer for this item is letter C, adjective. For our rationalization, in linguistics, an adjective is a word that modifies a noun or a noun phrase or describes its referent. Its semantic role is to change information given by the noun. So an adjective modifies a noun, that is, it provides more detail about a noun. This can be anything from color to size, to temperature, to personality. So adjectives usually occur just before the nouns they modify. So in the item, teacher is the noun and the modifying words are foreign language, which is the adjective. So the teacher is being described or being modified as foreign language. So we can say foreign language teachers. Next item, number 2. Michelle said she lost her watch. What is the antecedent of the italicized word in the sentence? So our italicized word is the word she. Okay, letter A, Michelle. Letter B, said. letter B, she. That's she. Said. Oh my god. Letter C, his. And letter D, watch. The correct answer for this item is letter A, Michelle. For our rationalization, let us define what is antecedent. So, antecedent, it is a word that is replaced by another word in the course of the sentence. In most cases, antecedents are replaced by pronouns. So, in the sentence, Michelle said she lost her watch. So, we can say that Michelle is the antecedent to the pronoun she. Understanding that the relationship between the two is very important when it comes to mastery of English. So in simple terms, an antecedent is a noun that comes before the use of pronoun in a sentence. So the antecedent of the word she is Michelle, which is she was referring to Michelle in the first place, okay? So next item, number 3. The smoke from the fire at times neglected the clay chimney, and this flimsy chimney of clay and sticks made endless threats. So what are the functions of the underlined words? So our underlined words in the sentence is clay. Okay, letter A, adjective and noun. Letter B, noun and noun. Letter C, adverb and noun. And letter D, adjective and adjective. Correct answer is letter A. It is an adjective and a noun. For our rationalization, so in linguistics, an adjective is a word that modifies a noun or noun phrase or describes its referent. Its semantic role is to change information given by the noun. So a noun is a word that names a person, place, thing, or an idea. So there are 2 types of nouns, which is the abstract nouns and the concrete nouns. So in the item, the first clause, the smoke from the fire at the times neglected the clay chimney. So the clay is an adjective describing or modifying the noun chimney. While the second clause, this flimsy chimney of clay and sticks made endless threats. The word clay in the sentence is a noun, that it is a word that names a thing belonging specifically in concrete noun. So that is the item number 3. Moving on with the English 153, teaching and assessment of the macro skills. Item number 1. Teacher A relayed her knowledge about curriculum planning to her co-teachers during their seminar. Teacher A used what type of speech? The options are letter A, informative speech, letter B, persuasive speech, letter C, argumentative speech, and letter D, inspirational speech. So the correct answer for this item is letter A, informative speech. For our rationalization, informative speech is one that intends to educate the audience on particular topic. The topics covered in an information speech should help the audience to understand a subject better and to remember what they learned later. So the goal of this type of speech isn't to sway the audience to the speaker's point of view. So in the item, Teacher A relayed and shared her knowledge about curriculum planning to her co-teachers. So she shared information to the audience, which are her co-teachers. So she used informative speech in relaying her knowledge about the curriculum planning towards her co-teachers. Next item, number 2, Anna saw an accident on her way to school. Since she was the only bystander there, she was interviewed by the reporter regarding the incident. So what type of speech she probably used? Letter A, impromptu speaking. Letter B, extemporaneous speaking. Letter C, manuscript speaking. And letter D, memorized speaking. So the correct answer for this item is letter A, impromptu speaking. For our rationalization, an impromptu speaking is defined as the only one that a speaker delivers without any preparation of the topic. Impromptu itself means doing something without preparation. So in this item, Anna didn't prepare or did not make a preparation for the interview because it is an on-the-spot interview. Instead, what happened was a on-the-spot interview regarding what happened in the incident. So by that, she used probably the impromptu speaking during the interview. Okay, next item, number 3. Sir B taught his students about a speech that is mostly used in stage acting or similar performance activities. Which one cannot be use notes? Where one cannot use notes are teleprompters and must know their lines by heart. Okay, so what type of speech he is referring to? The options are letter A, impromptu speaking, letter B, extemporaneous speaking, letter C, manuscript speaking, and letter D, memorized speaking. So the correct answer for this item is letter D, memorized speaking. For our rationalization, memorized speaking is the rote of recitation of a written message that the speaker has committed to memory. So it is the process of committing something to memory, mental process undertaken in order to store in memory for later recall items such as experience, names, appointments, and addresses, telephone numbers, pictures, diagrams, facts, music, or other visual, auditory, or tactical. So in this item, Sir B taught his students about a speech where they need to memorize it by heart and no using of notes or teleprompters, which refers to memorized speaking. Okay, next subject, we have English 18 or the Introduction to Linguistics, item number 1. Which one looks at the unit of a system and the results that make it work regardless of content? Okay, the options are letter A, generativism, letter B, cognitivism, letter C, structuralism, and letter D, functionalism. The correct answer for this item is letter C, structuralism. Okay, for our rationalization, structuralism looks at the unit of a system and the rules that make it work regardless of its content. So, structuralism is the intellectual and philosophical orientation often associated initially with the Western discourses of Levi Strauss, Marx, and Althusser, for example, who claim to analyze and explain invariant structures in and constitutive of nature, society, and the human styles. So in simple terms, structuralism is a method of interpreting and analyzing such things as language, literature, and society, which focuses on contrasting ideas and elements of structure and attempts to show how they relate to the whole structure. Next item, number 2. In language, the units are words and the rules are forms of blank that order words to produce meaning. The options are letter A, semantics, letter B, grammar, letter C, phonology, and letter D, pragmatics. The correct answer is letter B, grammar. For our rationalization, so in language, the units are words and the rules are the forms of grammar that order words to produce meaning. So let us define grammar. So grammar is the structure and system of a language or of languages in general, usually considered to consist of syntax and morphology. So grammar is the system of a language. So people sometimes describe grammar as the rules of language, but in fact, no language has rules. Next item, number 3. Which system property is not static but capable of change? The options are letter A, wholeness, letter B, self-regulation, letter C, transformation, and letter D, none of the above. The correct answer for this item is letter C, transformation. For our rationalization, so transformation is a system property that is not static but capable of change. The usual usage of the term transformation in linguistics refers to a rule that takes an input, typically called the deep structure or D-structure, that changes in some restricted way to result in a surface structure. So I guess that would be all for today's video. Here are the references I've taken via online. And that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for listening.